What's a job that's romanticized but in reality sucks? Veterinary medicine. Fantasy, I get to work with puppies and kittens. Reality, a 3-month-old kitten died in my care. I've seen so much gore and blood and neglect. I've sent animals home with invasive cancers because family can't afford treatment. I've been the only comfort shelter animals knew before they left this world. It is a specific and exhausting kind of pain, and it isn't really talked about enough. People who say they couldn't do it because of the euthanasia have no idea. Edit. Thank you to those of you who were kind and respectful. I will not be interacting anymore as recounting some of this is a little emotionally exhausting, but I'm going to plug this link for anyone, vet med or not. Have a good night everyone, and be kind to all living things. I strongly suspect being a spy doesn't involve half as many high-tech gadgets and spontaneous sexual intercourse as I've been led to believe. Edit. Thanks for all the awards, smile, and wow. The way my inbox just blew up, you'd think I'd started an OnlyFans. Architect. You think you'll be designing big fancy iconic buildings. Warehouses, Walmarts, strip malls, and shitbox apartments all need architects, and that's probably what you'll end up doing. Apparently lifeguard. Because nobody can find them anymore. Computer game development, especially testing. That is the ass end of an industry that is mostly ass. Everyone used to think it was awesome that I worked in live sports TV. 70% of the people I worked with were miserable pricks with overinflated egos, and then there were the athletes. So all of the jobs then, most, not all, jobs in the environmental sector, pay is usually quite low. You tend to work in very ugly places, landfills, contaminated sites. You are expected to get jobs done in half the time you really need with as few resources as possible. And if you are consulting for other companies, nobody really wants to be working with you to save the environment. They generally are just trying to barely meet some regulations. Edit. There are definitely exceptions, as some commenters have pointed out. Some people find a niche that works out very well for them. Just sharing my personal experience and that of other environmental professionals I have known. Edit number 2. I don't mean to discourage anyone who really wants to pursue an environmental career, but I also really wish that I would have learned some of the negatives, in my comment and the many replies, before I began mine. As a result, I only lasted a few years as an environmental consultant and basically started over in a completely new field. Journalist. Expectation. I'm gonna be the next Hunter S. Thompson and write compelling feature pieces with a unique voice and get paid to travel the world. Reality. Talking to my editor about how my contact from the cat fashion show won't call me back or do an interview unless we pay them $80 or adopt 2 cats. Game tester. I worked as a game tester for EA for almost 3 years. Here's what it's like. Imagine a game type you don't like. Maybe soccer games, maybe an RTS, whatever. You now play that game, 8 hours a day. But you don't play it, you test it. So let's imagine an RTS. You are told to test the resource acquisition systems. All you do is click around and make sure your guys can mine gold and harvest lumber. You click around the map and mine and forest. There is no combat. They've turned that off for your testing. There is no story, because you just flick from level to test the resource system. You test using one guy. You testing using 100 guys. You make sure no other units can gather resources. You try blocking your own guys. You try killing your own guys. 8 hours a day, every day, for weeks. You enter dozens of bugs. They put out a patch that fixes the bugs. You have to retest every level and every bug to make sure they're all fixed. That's game testing. Lawyer. Number of historic, life-changing, precedent-setting cases participated in, 0. Number of angry, self-entitled, abusive clients wanting to screw each other over, 842. Number of pages of paperwork that sucked up free time and social life, 84. 836. Chef/cook, shit pay. Toxic work environment. Shitty hot working conditions. Megalomaniacs/incompetent management and owners. Long shitty hours. Working every weekend and every holiday. The only people you will see regularly are your co-workers. And most people descend into alcoholism or drug abuse to cope. Most people get into it because they're passionate about it. And most bosses will take advantage of this. I spent 10 years in this field. I walked away with nothing other than the knowledge I gained. Then had to re-enter to workforce at the bottom at the age of 30. Been out 5 years now, and started making more money and working less hours within a year. I wish I left sooner. Working on a film. If your crew, it sucks. Long hours for what seem like very slow progress on the picture. Lots of standing around waiting, etc. You arrive well before everyone else and leave after everyone else. If this is an indie production, you also may have to beg/chase down for your pay at the end of each week. Oh, and when the film wraps, you're now unemployed. From what I've understood, being a cowboy is really awful. Ballerina. Archaeologist, specifically field archaeology. 99% of the time you find absolutely nothing. It's often physically demanding, sometimes grueling. The pay is shit. There are no benefits. You have to constantly travel. There's very little stability. I could go on. Source: have worked in CRM, cultural resource management, archaeology for several years now. Edit: holy shit, this blew up. Just wanna stay, in spite of all the bullshit of this field. Still love being an archaeologist and don't really wanna do anything else for a living. But I can't universally recommend this job to everyone in good faith. Doctor: fantasy: I make lots of money. Everyone respects me. Reality: I watch people die every day. Work exhausting 12-hour shifts. Have crippling depression and multiple addictions. Musician: show up at club at 5 p.m. or earlier, unload, set up, mic check, wait hours for show to start, get shitty bar food or local fast food, play to half-empty room, tear down, load into vehicles, hopefully get paid enough to cover expenses, leave club 2 to 3 a.m., covered in sweat and physically exhausted, either drive to another location or shitty hotel, lather, rinse and repeat. It's a grind for 99% of the musicians out there. My god, I miss it though. Lawyers: everyone thinks that it's like Suits. Reality: reading papers for hours and running behind clients in order to get them to come to the appointment. Source: my dad. Anything in modern day publishing. How many television shows and movies must I watch where the plucky young upstart graduates from college and gets a job at the magazine or newspaper of their choice and is respected and can make a living? The pay sucks. You're in constant danger of being laid off when your pub folds. Usually, and it's usually a pretty corporate environment where you're tasked with multiple jobs for little hope of advancement. The names high up on the mastheads are usually those of rich people, and it's because they started off rich and could afford to stay in the industry. Probably anything in the entertainment industry. It's bogged down by a lot of workers' rights violations, insane hours during crunch time, no work/life balance, and you don't even get paid much because your employers and society at large think it's a privilege to even be working in the industry. Being a therapist: too many people I've met get into the field thinking it's how they saw it on TV. Affluent white collar, own office, warm slow pace environment, where you get to sit on a nice comfy couch and be like, let's talk about your feelings. That's only if you get to private practice, which they don't tell you is also like running your own small business, which good luck as you have no business acumen. The reality is you get out of grad school, get your first job working at a community mental health facility because they are the only ones who will hire you with a limited license and no experience, getting paid less than $40K/year if you're lucky, and then get put in a walk-in closet of an office, where they dump 100 client caseload on you the first day, followed by your first client who has 5 different diagnoses and is on 12 different psych meds who says to you, fuck you. You are my 7th different person I've had here. Nobody cares about me. Yeah, people go into $100,000 of debt for that. Edit: I'm a therapist myself. I love what I do. But it takes years to get past all the shitty parts of the field to find your place in the field. Needless to say, too many don't survive the baptism by fire I mentioned above and either become burned out, jaded, or leave the field altogether. Reading the comments: all jobs really sucks. Scientist: the dream is you come in every day searching for truth and answers to life and the universe's fundamental problems. The truth is you're stuck in a no-win situation of having to publish like crazy, write grants that are expected to support your work and the whole university, while also handling a teaching load, fending off toxic colleagues, doing service, and getting a destructive administration off your back. Everywhere you turn is criticism and blockages. Your papers and grants are rejected, your students shit on you in your teaching evaluations. You go into every faculty meeting already gritting your teeth because your colleagues on the other side of whatever faction are going to try to shut you down about everything. You can always go into industry and make quite a chunk of change, but people give up a lot of creative aspects of their work. There is nothing wrong with science being another job where you are part of the larger mission of your company, including making a profit. It's just not what people think being a scientist is like. I have 2 jobs that fit the bill. Video game tester: the pay is terrible. You sit in a dark room with no windows all day performing monotonous tests with a group of antisocial introverts. I ran out of inventive ways to submit bug reports saying, the player cannot approach closely enough to the rocket coordinates XYZ. See attached screenshot. I remember working as a group for hours to attempt to manually test an unlockable achievement, only to have the development team push out a new code build right before we finished, so we had to start all over again. Archaeologist: again. The pay is terrible. Most of the projects are tied to expanding the fossil fuel industry. Hooray! Climate change. Doing phase 1 work involves checking to see if anything of cultural value is present in a given area. I compare it to playing Battleship. You dig a hole, it's empty. Miss. You dig a hole, you find something. Hit. Dig around the hit, looking for other hits. You mostly dig many empty holes. I had to rebury my most interesting find, a Native American hearth, because it wasn't in the budget to excavate it. Due to how the laws work, that site was later bulldozed, and now there's a gas station there.